Abortion is a prevalent issue in today's society. The ambiguity left by pro-choice sources lead women to think that the act is to empower them and give them the choice to control everything about their bodies, but the reality is much different. Abortion is a crime committed on the unborn who are unable to make decisions on their own. What many people are oblivious to is the fact that what is inside of their bodies is a living being only protected by his or her mother, so the baby is relying on the mother to make all the decisions for it. Pro-choice people will argue that the baby isn't formed at conception, but rather after 12 weeks of development. Most people are under the assumption that the being growing inside of a woman is just a bunch of cells growing and changing into different things for months. And once it comes out, then it's a baby. But what is really happening inside of a mother is actually something very special. From the moment of conception to the time of birth, this unique growing stage is an amazing thing that many people will never fully understand. The developmental growing stages of a baby progress quickly, and many pro-choice people refuse to believe that what is being aborted is in fact a baby. To start from the very beginning of conception, on a molecular level, as soon as the sperm reaches the egg in the fallopian tube, it's fertilized. When this happens, a zygote is formed. MedicineNet described a zygote as what develops into the embryo following the instruction encoded in its genetic material, DNA. This just means that a zygote is formed by the male and female sex cells containing the human DNA from the mother and from the father that is genetically different from any other human that has ever existed. This unique DNA sequence will dictate distinct features that the baby will develop, such as hair and eye color and personality traits. As the baby starts to grow, it quickly develops basic human features. In the body, the cardiovascular system is the first to develop. If you Google, when does a baby develop a heartbeat, the first thing you'll pop up is from a website called Parents that says your baby's heart starts beating about 22 days after she's conceived, but the earliest you'd be able to spot it on screen is 5 weeks after your last period, although many moms-to-be don't see the doctor until they're a bit farther along in their pregnancies. The baby's heart starts beating just after 22 days. That's only 3 weeks. That's all it takes for a baby's heart to develop, and most soon-to-be mothers either don't know they're pregnant or haven't been to the doctor yet when they're that far along. According to Family Research Council, at 22 days, the baby's heart begins to circulate his own blood that is genetically distinct from the mother. At 5 weeks, the baby is the size of a grain of rice, but even being as small as it is, according to mydoctor.com, the baby now has a brain. At 6 weeks, the eyes, eyelids, nose, mouth, and tongue have formed. At this point in the baby's life, brain activity can already be seen in this tiny baby. And after all of these distinct human features are developed and functioning, scientists now refer to this previously called embryo as a fetus. It is still not considered a baby, but a fetus. According to Merriam-Webster, a fetus is a developing human from usually 2 months after conception to birth. When it is the embryo or fetus, whether it's one of those or the other, this stage has all the same characteristics and features as a baby, but many still don't consider it to be a baby. After 8 weeks, the baby will now have developed all of his organs and bodily structures. Once the baby is 10 weeks old, he is now able to make bodily movements. Even though these are known facts, some women have no objective to aborting a baby that is generally anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks old, which they already have facial features and brain activity when they're that old. At this point in the baby's life, it should be very evident that it is not just a group of cells. It isn't a random flat structure evolving that will become a baby. From the start, it is absolutely 100% a baby. From the moment of conception, there is DNA from both of the parents. Abortion is literally defined as the ending of a pregnancy before the baby is able to survive on its own. Now, of course, pro-choice people will throw in the words embryo and fetus so people don't really know what's going on. It makes them feel a lot better about the process, making them believe that it isn't a baby that's being removed from its mother. When a woman has abortion in her 3rd trimester, which is weeks 27 to the end of pregnancy, they call it something a little different. Now, remember, pro-choice advocates believe a baby is formed between 16 and 20 weeks. And at this point in the pregnancy, they can no longer deny that it is a baby. It's now referred to as a late termination of pregnancy instead of just abortion, because at this point, they know and believe it's a baby that they're about to kill. According to Planned Parenthood, the most common type of abortion is done with the suction method. The mother is sedated, sometimes awake and sometimes asleep. They numb you, stretch out your insides, and remove what they call pregnancy tissue, which is the baby. Another common form of abortion, the dilation and evacuation procedure, known as a D&E procedure. This is used for abortions done after 16 weeks. This is done in the third trimester. An additional shot into the abdomen might be necessary. They will then go into the uterus and use a combination of tools and suction to essentially cut up the baby, since it is much bigger now compared to when they do the suction method. And then they will basically do the same process. And either way, both procedures cause a lot of pain to the mother. In conclusion, the baby growing inside of a mother's womb is helpless and relies solely on his mother for protection. This baby has the right to live, and not letting it fulfill his or her potential is a crime no one should be willing to commit.